If you're in a stage where you'd like more clarity on your healing journey and you're feeling overwhelmed by the abundance of information out there, I hope this video will give you some more empowerment and help you feel clearer moving forward. Hello, welcome to my channel. We talk about spirituality, self-healing, yoga philosophy, and everything interrelated with that. I also create inner work yoga classes that include your regular yoga asana poses, as well as more authentic yogic practices like Kundalini Kriyas, meditation, mantra, mudra, breathwork, and I also intertwine that with inner work concepts. So the classes will be designed to heal very specific life problems and include things like affirmations, inner work processes, journaling, and things like that. So first, just a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am now. So I was severely depressed for a majority of my life. I didn't want to be alive since I was actually a child, and I've definitely struggled with complex PTSD and anxiety and everything else that comes along with those things. So I feel like my healing journey began probably about 7 years ago. It was actually when I met my partner and I realized that there were some things that were really messed up about me and my life. And so that's when I started my journey of talking to psychologists and reading books and watching YouTube videos. And I basically used to spend all of my time learning about self-growth, trauma healing, and personal development. But none of this really truly hit the core of how I was feeling. I was still feeling depressed and anxious. It felt like nothing was truly solving the problem. It felt like everything was just helping me to cope with it. That was until I went out on a limb and talked to a spiritual life coach. Even though everyone in my life was telling me, no, you need to see a proper psychologist, like a clinical trained psychologist. Funnily enough, they all had massive waiting lists. And I ended up talking to this really woo-woo spiritual life coach. I spoke to her for 3 months, and I have not felt depressed, like I didn't want to be alive, or anxious. I actually have barely felt anything that I haven't been able to deal with ever since talking to her. And after that experience, and I felt like my main wounds had really been healed, I went looking for more, and that is when I found my yoga teacher training, which actually trained us to also be holistic counselors. And I actually didn't want to be a yoga teacher, and I didn't want to be a counselor. I signed up for that training just because I felt like I wanted to know the information, not because I necessarily wanted to be a yoga teacher or a holistic counselor. But alas, here I am. Turns out I actually enjoy nothing more than teaching yoga and helping people with their issues. I feel like spirituality has healed me so deeply that my greatest passion in life is to share that with as many people as I can now. Because I honestly didn't think that it was possible to be as happy or as fulfilled as I feel right now. And everyone deserves to feel that way. So first, in order to heal, we have to understand trauma. Now, there is so much information out there about trauma, and it is all so relevant and so worthwhile learning. However, if you are feeling overwhelmed or confused by all of this different information, because that is how I used to feel, I'm just going to give you the most simplest, briefest way that I can explain these concepts. And this is the way that I actually think about them in my mind. And this is what has helped me the most. So when we go through a negative experience in our life, we experience a negative emotional reaction. The interesting thing about emotions is that they're actually only meant to last 90 seconds in our body. The only reason they last longer than that is because we avoid actually feeling them because we were never taught how to feel them. And when we can't feel them, we can't process them. And that's when they become stuck in our body, in our energy, and in our mind. It's like a negative experience happens and we're supposed to have this emotional reaction and then come back to a neutral place. But when that reaction is incomplete, when we don't fully feel, when we don't fully process or reconcile that negative experience, the cycle that the emotion was supposed to go on gets blocked. And that's when the emotion gets stuck in our bodies. And that is basically a very basic description of trauma. And I believe that we came to this earth to experience trauma so that we could learn how to transcend it. But that might be a topic for another day. Triggers are what happens when we are somehow reminded of an unprocessed negative experience. So this is where things like smells might remind people of their trauma. It's important to be aware of our triggers because they are what lets us know where we have yet to fully process, to fully complete the emotional reaction, and now the ego. So there's many different ways of talking about the ego. I'm just going to talk about it in the way that I think about it, the way that has helped me the most. So the ego is really our human self, this human self right here. It's not our soul, our spirit. It's this part of ourselves experiencing this body, experiencing this life. And so as we encounter negative experiences in life, our ego puts on layers of protection. And these layers of protection are what forms our ego. These layers of protection are what we have learnt to expect from life. When we're having a negative experience, our ego goes, oh no, let me protect you. Let me put on this layer. And then if that emotional experience isn't completed, if it's not fully processed, if it's not healed or reconciled, we forget to remove that layer and come back to our true selves. This is why our ego is not our true self, because it is made up of layers and layers and layers of protection. And those layers definitely were important. They were necessary. We needed those layers of protection at that time of that negative experience. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been protected, right? However, when we're no longer in that negative experience, if we haven't fully processed that emotion and we keep that layer of protection on, that is when our ego and those layers start to cause problems in our current life, because that protection is no longer relevant. And maybe it's protecting us from the very things that we want to experience. So you can think of your ego as like a different version of yourself, and one that is wearing like layers and layers and layers and layers of protection. And your ego will try to do things in your life. Your ego will try to achieve things maybe, but it will always go about it the wrong way. It will always go about it in a harmful way that causes negative consequences. Because imagine your ego with all of these layers of protection. It can't see the truth, right? It can't see the truth of the situation. So it can never achieve what it truly desires. It will always go about it in a weird kind of distorted way based on that past experience that hasn't yet been healed. Our ego is like our monkey animal mind. It will do whatever it has to do to survive. It will do whatever it has to do to protect us from something. So our soul, our spirit, our conscious mind might want love and peace and joy, but our ego is still stuck in that incomplete emotional cycle with all of those layers of protection blocking its view. And it might perceive love and peace and joy as something that it needs to protect itself from, based on its past experiences that are yet to be healed. So kind of the main goal of healing is really to step in, soothe your ego, reassure it that it's okay, remove that layer of protection, and help your ego see the positive direction that you consciously want to move in. So how do we remove all of these layers of protection? This is where the koshas come in. The koshas are layers that our bodies are made up of, not the same as the ego protection layers. These are the literal layers of our experience. So we have our physical body, then we have our energetic body, then we have our mental body, and then we have what's called the silent body, and then finally we have our bliss body. And it's really helpful to understand that we are all made up of these 5 layers. Because if we just try to heal our mental body without healing our energetic or physical, it's not going to stick, it's not going to work, it's not going to be as deep. And actually, in order to truly heal, in order to truly process an incomplete emotion, we first have to begin on the physical level before moving into the energetic, the mental, the silence, and then the bliss. This is why practices like meditation or energy work might not work for some people, but they do work for others. So maybe if you have tried a healing practice and it hasn't really stuck, it hasn't really carried over into your everyday life, it could just be that that practice neglected a layer of your body that is yet to heal. It's suggested that we all start at our physical body and work our way through. So you can totally work with just one layer at a time, or you can do something that involves multiple layers at a time, like inner work yoga that involves physical movement. It involves energetic practices. It also involves inner work like affirmations and journaling. And then it also involves meditation, which is silence. And these four create the right conditions to potentially experience bliss. And as you heal one, it will lead to the healing of the next. They're all interconnected. So healing your physical body is about bringing awareness to your physical sensations. So in order to do this, you might do things like physical exercise. You might do yoga, asana, or you might do somatic practices, dancing, walking, anything that is getting you into your body, getting you present with the physical sensations in your body. This also includes feeling the emotions in your body, feeling where they are in your body, what they feel like in your physical cells. Healing your physical body also looks like taking care of your health, making sure that you're eating correctly for your body, feeling how food makes you feel, sleeping correctly for your body, feeling how sleep makes you feel, how tired your body feels, how awake and alive your body feels. Just bringing so much awareness to how your physical body is feeling in each moment. Healing your energetic body looks like things like energy work or breath work. Breath work is called in Sanskrit pranayama. Prana meaning life force energy, yama meaning control. So by doing breath work, you control your life force energy. You can shift your energy, you can move your energy, which is healing it. And the more you do that, the more awareness you bring to your energy, not just your physical body now, but your energetic body. And you feel into how your energy is feeling. How's your aura feeling? How much life force energy do you feel within you? Bringing awareness to that and healing through that is how you heal your energetic body. This is also practices like kriyas. Kriyas are designed to really powerfully move energy through your body. This is why it can sometimes be dangerous to do kriyas if you haven't yet healed your physical body. This is why some people might throw up or feel sick when they do really intense energetic practices, because they haven't yet brought enough awareness and healing to their physical layer first. Healing your mental body is becoming aware of your beliefs and your thoughts. It's doing what you're doing right now, learning. It's increasing your knowledge. It's changing your limiting beliefs. It's doing practices like journaling and talk therapy or shadow work, where you're altering the ways and the programming of your mind. If someone has experienced extreme physical trauma, just working with the mental body isn't going to fully heal that. You have to start with the physical before moving on to the energetic and finally the mental. This is why talk therapy isn't helpful for everyone, because some people really need a physical or energetic practice before they can start having awareness and control of their mind and their thoughts. Healing your silence body is things like meditation, using your intuition, receiving messages, channeled messages from something higher than ourselves, witnessing your own consciousness, achieving that level of thoughtless silence. This is why it's recommended to do physical and energetic practices before you meditate, because all of the physical healing and the energetic healing naturally leads to a state where you can start to observe your thoughts, where you can start to experience moments of silence. And the fifth and final layer, bliss. This is supreme oneness consciousness. This is a deep and profound connection This is a deep and profound connection to all that is. And this bliss consciousness can be achieved in all layers. You can experience oneness with all that is while doing a physical practice. You can experience oneness with all that is while working through thoughts in your mind. So that's the 5 layers and what they consist of and how to heal each of them. Now that you know that, you might be wondering, how do I know what I need to work on? So the main tool that I like to use to identify where I have unprocessed traumas and emotions is the themes of consciousness. If you're interested, I've just done a short video explaining these themes of consciousness, but I'll briefly talk about them now. So these themes of consciousness are the map of human evolution broken down into steps. This scale helps us identify where we are still holding trauma, where we're still holding a wound or a subconscious program, so that we can apply the physical, energetic, mental, and silent practices to that wound. So if you're having a hard time, you can look at the themes, you can identify which one you think you're experiencing, and then you can look at the healing for each theme, and you can apply the healing to each layer of your koshas. So let's say you have identified an unwanted feeling, a trauma, a pattern. You've used the themes of consciousness to identify what that is. Now you want to feel into the physical sensation of how that negative emotion, how that experience feels in your body. Once you've done that, you might want to move into breathing or energy work and start to feel into the subtle layers of how that emotion, how that trauma feels, not just in your physical body, but in your subtle energy body, in your life force. Once you've done that, that will help you to further identify your specific limiting beliefs. It will allow you to bring awareness to your ego. It will allow you to notice your thoughts and your perceptions and begin to change them and shift them as you notice them. But this can only happen if you're present and aware with the physical and energetic feelings that are associated with this wound. Then you might like to meditate on that feeling, or you might like to ask for guidance from a higher power. And by this stage, that negative feeling probably will have transformed or at least somewhat dissolved. And the more that you do this when you have negative experiences, when you are triggered, the more healing that you apply to each wound, the smaller that wound will become. And this can all happen in a very short span of time or a very long span of time. It may take years. It may take a few minutes. It totally depends on the trauma. It totally depends on your circumstances. And often, after so many years of wearing these protective layers, it can be really hard to take them off. This is why daily inner work is so important, because it's through repetition that we slowly chip away at these layers of protection. You might find that you process something using all of these methods, and then the next day you get triggered back into that negative state. This is the universe gifting you an opportunity to apply what you have just processed, what you have just learnt, what you have just integrated to that moment when you were triggered. When you decide you truly want to heal something, the universe will give you opportunities for you to apply the healing and for you to really sink into and really live that experience of healing and help you sink into that new way of being that you have uncovered through that healing process. You can also be preventative by doing something every day that helps bring you back into that new healed state of being. This could be things like affirmations, or quickly closing your eyes and feeling that new feeling in your body. Practice feeling it. It could be visualizing what it feels like to be in that healed state. And after actively reinforcing, after reacting to your triggers differently, and after taking these preventative methods to remind yourself of your true state, to remind yourself who you are beneath the layers of protection. After enough repetition, maybe it's just a few weeks, that layer will be gone and you will naturally start behaving in this new way. Because as you remove more and more layers of protection, you uncover this beautiful true self that's been living underneath the whole time, and your whole experience of life changes. Ultimately, healing will be different for everybody. So do whatever is best for you. You already know how to heal yourself. You just have to remember. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps this channel. I am always here for you on this journey. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.